Good afternoon, Internet Surfs. This is the Veritasia Ministries Veritasia Embassy report for. Oh, God, I keep losing track of what day it is. Okay, time compression kicking me in the butt again. Monday, June 23rd, 2014. Okay. I've actually managed to have a very, very busy day today on the internet. One of the things that I'm using as a primary premise is that basically if I cannot get done what I wish to get done, then one of the first signals it's telling me is that I need to work on myself. Okay. And basically I need to work on my thought processes to bring them more in line with my absolute intentions and beliefs. Okay. So let me explain something about the direction that this real-time experiment is actually taking, folks. Symbologically, because I'm here on YouTube, and YouTube deals with a lot of symbols. It actually deals with a lot of humanly warm symbols, like like music videos, and for example, the themes to TV shows. Okay, the TV shows you like will tell you something about why you like them if you've studied them out enough. Okay, that has to do with what particular themes do you like and this kind of thing. I'm discovering some interesting things about the ways that I'm experimentally expecting the internet to talk back to me. Okay, and like I said, YouTube is basically the top level domain that, quote unquote, the Veritasian empire controls right now, or at least my private property space on YouTube, my YouTube channel. Remember, I'm defining private property as I'm not necessarily, quote unquote, trying to do business in this space yet, not in the public sense, because I'm in no way interfering with the copyright of other providers, even though on YouTube, one of the interesting implications of its being a social network like it is, and basically an international social network, or what I call a world power, is that basically at the macro scale, one of the problems with YouTube as a social network is that it is extremely easy as a novice to violate copyright. Okay, and basically, let me show you the extent of the problem. Okay, a novice who just wants to create, say, a playlist of my favorite music videos. Let's just say that you got online yesterday morning, found YouTube, started experimenting, and you basically said, I want to mount what is not necessarily my own music video, but I'm actually creating a derivative work out of my mixed fandom for, say, this particular film plus that particular song. Okay, and I've seen people pull this trick all the time on YouTube. I've seen, for example, the song "We Are." Well, that belongs to Spider-Man, but there are people who have actually gone and dubbed a "We Are" track over Merlin, because frankly, just because they liked Merlin, they liked this particular interpretation in this particular television series about Merlin. Okay, things like there are several different iterations or several different interpretations of a song called Mordred's Lullaby. This kind of thing. Well, what I'm learning is that I'm using the symbols that are available on YouTube to see if I can get, not just the network, but the individual people. Grab the individual people participating in this network and just basically try and get them to react to me. Okay? That doesn't necessarily involve a closed sale yet in the the money sense of show me the money now kind of a thing. Okay, because I'm at a place in the project where basically the small green pieces of paper that we call money, first of all, are one of the master variables in the experiment. Okay, is basically what does it take to attract money? Okay, what does it take to attract money? Well, in the internet sense, and this works as a traffic principle on any given site. Remember I said that YouTube is basically the top space in the food chain that I've been able to command at this point. My frustration is that here's the thing, is basically I'm defining Google as literally the top of the internet funnel. In other words, Google is the point where you basically have your business position so well identified or so transparently identified across the entire internet that, like, no matter what you are doing, okay, the fact is you've defined what you're doing well enough that literally anybody in the world can find you for for basically any degree of quote-unquote public exposure that they really want to do. Okay, now without getting into the fact that it's very, I used to think it was quote-unquote very complex to become a good citizen of Google. Okay, and I'm saying this as somebody who has been attempting to do this from the bottom up. Okay, for example, I literally went from having one email account to having several email accounts with like different service providers, to having, for example, being exposed to many different traffic exchanges. Once I understood what the dynamics of a traffic exchange were in terms of like a one-to-one site exchange, okay, and those people are all over the internet food chain. I'm not saying I'm not making the argument that quote-unquote traffic exchange advertising doesn't work. Obviously, people make money off of that. But the lion's share of that goes where? Okay, left as an exercise for the student. The lion's share of goes to the owner of the traffic exchange, or defined another way in a marketing sense, the person who controls the process. Okay, so eventually I graduated to a point where I'm basically trying to be consistent about the use of one particular traffic exchange because, for example, they have reward programs that appeal to me. The personal contacts, the email contacts that I've made with support, with the management of this particular exchange, has been very favorable toward me, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so I eventually went to the point where I just basically decided I'm going to master one traffic exchange and just leave it at that. Okay, then I discovered that there's a problem with traffic exchanges, which is that basically what they're hoping before you get to the point where, quote unquote, a traffic exchange will give you money, okay, is you literally have to bring enough eyeballs, enough newly developed user accounts, okay, to go in under you and basically you have a team of many more eyeballs, okay, who are following you because they're already on your mailing list, okay, and some of those people are the people who are giving you money, but that's because they're part of your personal mailing list. See, that's the flaw in traffic exchange dynamics for most people. It becomes a complex process. All right, I'm trying to define principles that basically work across systems. You know, what is the commonality between, for example, what is the commonality in the deep architecture between, site A that is a very small site that's getting no traffic versus site B that is, effectively what I call the top of Google. All right, whether or just to give you somebody I'm not, quote unquote, directly or legally dealing with right now, Amazon, for example. Everybody can find Amazon. They've got, their server architecture is huge. They get literally millions of hits, probably billions of dollars a year, and that's because they leverage mass traffic. Basically, they invite you to do a lot of work for them for free, okay, as a way of developing traffic among whom? Okay, among your friends and family. See, that's the problem. Okay, that's what I mean when I say I don't want to deal with a 900-pound gorilla. Okay, it's not that I object to Amazon in terms of like how they're trying to do business or what they are trying to sell me. It's the fact that getting paid by them puts so many legal claims on my time and energy to learn their system that after a certain point it just gets ridiculous. Okay, so basically when I learn some things about how to like leverage mass traffic to the point that I've actually got exposure to like a real audience, and I'm able to define for Amazon, for example, the one way in which I am, quote, making money off of Amazon is if, for example, the results of my research eventually allow me to write my own book and then go sell that book on Amazon. See, that's when the equation works. Okay, but here's the problem, is that you generally have to be some other kind of professional in order to be an effective reviewer on Amazon. I say that because I've actually done the experiment of reviewing various audiobooks that I've gotten from, say, Audible.com, one of my favorite sites. Okay, and the fact is, yeah, I'm doing that work for free. I'm not even a freaking affiliate. Well, the fact is, I'm not interested in quote unquote being an affiliate. Okay. I'm interested in the day coming when people will trust me enough to buy books that I recommend because I recommended them. Okay. Doesn't matter, am I legally affiliated with Amazon? Doesn't matter, am I legally affiliated with Audible? Whatever. Okay. What matters is that, for example, in the huge river of internet money that's available, basically you only get one specific place, one specific selling proposition, okay, for where you make your money at your point in the food chain. And the rules of the game are that you can't interfere with anybody else making their money along the way. Okay, that's how to avoid any troubles whatsoever with hard paper law, or what I've been calling hard paper law. And the thing that became frustrating about Amazon or about Audible was that, as much as I quote unquote wanted to affiliate with them as a customer, when I actually considered the amount of work that it would take to sell for them, in other words, to become an affiliate, and this whole separate set of processes that I would have to learn, okay, it's just basically there's too much law in my way, too many freaking rules, and they scare me. Okay. But here's the thing, the back end thing that happened when I tried to contact the management of Audible, thinking that a particular thing had happened in a certain way. A particular thing had happened in my way, or in the way that I wanted. The thing is that my name got dropped into somebody else's database, and I eventually got a hard, warm voice phone call from somebody who was actually making the proposal, well, do you want to affiliate with Amazon? Okay. And the thing is, Amazon owns Audible, so I knew right away that if I were legally recognized by Amazon as having the authority that I wanted, that I wouldn't have any problem with the management of Audible. Okay. The problem is that the spell is more complex than that. Okay. The spell is more complex than that. Okay. Anyway, I'm going like way off topic. But just for example, I decided to try a, not necessarily a marketing experiment, but just an experiment in clarifying my general proposition. Okay, because we're a long way from my being ready to absorb any sort of a money deal at this point. I'm at a place where individual people that I approach, yeah, they have a tremendous opportunity because of the economy of scale I can provide them for getting in early. Okay. But, at the same time, Veritasia as an empire, has a population of 1. Okay. And basically, I'm not counting His Majesty himself, because I am Veritasia. I'm House Veritasia. Effectively, I'm all of Veritasia. Okay. So, the pronouncement I made yesterday was that, yeah, I have basically 1 citizen in the empire, and I can't get him fully committed to anything I might want him to do. Okay? Because we're having private discussions and he's being annoyed by those. You know? And I mean, Ryan, no criticism intended, okay? I love you. You know that. All right? I'm just saying. I recognize how frustrating it is for you to be Veritasia's only paid-in noble citizen. Okay? But as to your contention, Mr. Brian Mize, of, like, I will advertise with you when you have proven to me that you are online. Okay, there's a difference between, quote-unquote, being online in the way I believe you mean, in which case you're making an error of scale. Okay. You know, not that your proposal, I think it was like $500 a year for, you know, for the advertising of XYZ company. Okay, I understand the mechanics of the proposal, but I know right away that you're making an error in scale. Okay, because first of all, you probably never see this. Okay, you'll probably never see this because I'm not going to sit here and beg you to go see it, for one. The other thing about that is what I believe you mean about being online, okay, requires something called dedicated server architecture. Okay, and never mind what that is, Brian Love. It's just a matter of just take it as read that is already god awfully expensive. Okay. And if you had the eyes to see it, and if you had the commitment to see it, I'm online now. All right? I'm online waiting for the first person to take a poke at you to say, well, you know, are you actually looking over what your supposed king is putting out there? You know, and I understand most of it is strange. Okay, most of it is strange. So we're back down to I'm not even going to get into the question of like how big a science fiction fan you are or are not, or what you understand about the structure of the empire. Okay, all I'm going to get back to you with is, okay, noble house, royal house, don't worry about a damn thing. Okay? Don't worry about a damn thing. Sooner or later, okay, if you live long enough to see anything close to the completion of the project, if the diabetes does not catch up to me first and destroy my health first, then what is going to happen, okay, is that your Shackley business is basically going to be built without your having to touch it, okay? Not because, quote unquote, I have a Shackley group, all right? I am not Shackley, I'm Veritasia. There's a difference, okay? But is there going to be a Veritasia group inside Shackley for as long as you remain a Shackley Archduke? Yes, sir, damn straight there will be. Okay. And that's the thing. I'm not only congratulating you, I'm congratulating the company because they've taken a forerunner position. Okay. So, basically, if you're already involved in Shackley and you're already a Christian, okay, then at least consider communicating with Brian Mize. I'm not saying necessarily sign up under him, okay, but it'd be nice if he got some of these pings back. Okay, that's what I mean. And the thing is, I can duplicate that process across companies. I can duplicate it across church organizations. I can duplicate it across, you know, eventually clubhouses, tree houses, Boy Scout troops, you know, just to take the process to a ridiculous length. Okay, as basically, yeah, I'm boasting again. I'm boasting about skill sets that I don't really have. But what I'm saying is that once I have those skill sets, I can duplicate, you know, whatever my results have been across, you know, whatever systems I begin to learn about. And, you know, and yet there are still some absolute limits to using a man-made system. Like, you know, for example, going back to Clarke's law, because basically I've reconciled Clarke's law to the abolition of man. Okay. One of the things that C.S. Lewis points out in the abolition of man is the fact that the magical impulse and the scientific impulse are not necessarily opposites. Okay, they're both actuated by the same impulse within man. Okay, but for example, the tradition of magic, and he makes the point that, like, magic is not some medieval survival. I think it's like the 16th and 17th centuries were the heyday of magic, which, you know, one of the more famous disciplines in magic that was later abandoned was alchemy. This whole question of turning lead into gold. Okay, just to give you the classical symbology. But anyway, no. People talk as if science and magic are opposites. The problem with that argument was brought out by the brilliant scientist Arthur C. Clarke. He said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Okay, so, you know, while I understand what our 21st century culture generally means by, quote unquote, the difference between science and magic, which gets back into, you know, disciplines like philosophy and ontology and all this, and, you know, gets us right back into this whole, you know, false choice science versus theology assumption about the universe. Okay, just as I firmly believe, as a, you know, a founding principle, that all it takes for real evil to succeed is for good men to literally do nothing about it. Okay, so, like, the first impulse that the devil, and remember, I believe in a conscious devil here, you know, just for symbological purposes. I believe in a conscious devil. I believe that there is such a force as, you know, quote unquote, the dark side of the force. I believe that there is a force that quote unquote wishes to annihilate everything, to kill, steal, and destroy humankind. Okay, that's, you know, back to my own primary scriptural reference. It says that the devil comes not but for to kill, to steal, and destroy. Okay, so yeah, I believe in a personal devil. You know, one of the premises and one of the troubles I have with you know, belief in a personal devil is that, you know, especially as a Christian, it's not just that I'm, quote unquote, logically opposed to the devil, so on and so forth. Okay, it's the fact that the reason I have to believe in him is I have to start out from the assumption that the son of a bitch is insane. I have to start out from the assumption that the son of a bitch is insane. He wants destruction. He wants chaos. And the thing is, it's probably, I would refer you back to Lewis's brilliant construct, the Screwtape Letters, in terms of like what I mean by insanity. Okay. What I believe Lewis was trying to say, and eventually he went on to his divine reward before he actually saw any evidence of the fact that he had said this correctly, was that the problem with taking God out of any equation or any tradition in science or magic, okay, is that once you covenant with a force superior to man, okay, the problem with it, and the reason I postulate the devil as being insane, is not because I don't believe in a devil. Okay, it's that that to my human mind, insanity, total mental chaos, insanity, is the best definition of what true evil really manifests like. And so the thing is, if you sign your soul over to either God or the devil, and remember, we're not even getting into, is this Christian theology yet? Okay, because I'm not even getting into things like the identity of Christ, or your belief in the virgin birth, or whatever baggage you think you have against Christianity. What I'm saying is, let's suppose that there is literally a chessboard version of the universe in which white is on one side and black is on the other. The problem with being one of the black pieces and having sold your soul to the Dark Lord, okay, is that you literally become the Dark Lord's creature at that point. And Lewis's primary premise at that point was not that you become something more than human, okay, but you certainly become something. You certainly become something other than human, and you most probably become something less than human by doing that. Okay, that was what are called, that was the what. Okay, I ran into something just today called the ontological argument for theism. Okay, and I have another playlist where another video explains that particular assumption, but it's one of His Majesty's thesis statements, is that I believe in the ontological argument for theism. Now, an atheist is going to sit there and say I'm stupid, all he likes, but just because he makes that claim, don't make it so. All right, that's what I mean by there are dangers involved in calling even the opposite side of any particular argument, or the argument from complex systems, like, for example, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people all with competing interests at a given negotiating table. That's where chaos increases. Okay, is that in order to perform what I call a proper ethical transform for for an increasing number of parties. And see, this is something you can apply to your marketing as well. Okay, one of the things I believe about the very nature of the way one acquires authority in the universe, just because Jesus said it that way. Okay, Jesus said it, therefore I believe it. Is that one of the things God is like is there's parable after parable after parable that demonstrates, basically a principle of, well done, good and faithful servant. You've done well with this little bit, so I'm about to give you more responsibility. Okay, higher pay grade. Bottom line, higher pay grade, and the way this translates into any given market anywhere, and I believe that Empower Network teaches this principle above all, regardless of what you believe about David Wood's personal philosophy of life. Okay, I believe that the reason I've made them part of the Veritasia project is not just because they're good at teaching me the science of marketing or the magic of marketing, if you want to posit magic as mind control. Okay, that's one of its implications. Okay, but let's just assume that there is such a thing as real magic, and just leave it at that. Okay, let's just assume that there is such a thing as real magic, and then leave it at that. The thing that I'm expecting Empower Network to be able to teach me is how to do effective ethical transforms for eventually, downline organizations of hundreds and potentially thousands of people. Okay, and yeah, I'm at a place where basically, if I get far along enough in the game that, like, before I die, I've had some kind of impact on the entire planet, then I will be satisfied with having fought a good war. Okay. And this is not the same proposition as, quote unquote, getting the entire planet to sign up under me. That's ridiculous. Okay. There's a problem with being a wizard. If you like, all right. At that point, I'm more cleric. I'm more priest than wizard. Okay, because I'm not really interested in, quote unquote, the bargain for power. Okay, and one of the things is, if I get my conception of good wrong. Okay, let's assume that I'm acting from a consciously good motive. There's also something called the law of unintended consequences, that basically if I get my conception of good wrong, or I scale it wrong, then I eventually end up grabbing too much power and misusing it, not only making the powers of good, the powers that be for good, look ridiculous or hypocritical. But one of the things that novelist Robert Jordan brought to my attention is that, like, even the light of goodness can burn you if you draw too much power. Okay? It's not a matter of, are you a dark friend? It's not a matter of, are you working for the shadow? Okay, let's like get beyond that. All right, that's one of the things I love about Tolkien's fantasy and about Robert Jordan's fantasy is that both of these fantasy constructs give you wonderful ideas about the the problems and nature of good and evil. Okay, and like the hope of every rational and sane citizen in every kingdom in the wheel of time is, may you and your household walk in the light. Okay, and the whole question is, what does it mean based on, like, the theological faction that you happen to belong to? What does it actually mean to walk in the light? Okay, let me take another risk and explain what I believe Robert Jordan believed about Christians. Okay, he actually has a force in the wheel of time called the children of the light. Okay, now he doesn't start out by introducing you to the children of the light. He starts out by introducing you to the Aes Sedai. And the Aes Sedai are effectively female witches. Okay, I won't get into, is this biblically forbidden witchcraft or whatever, okay? But that is their reputation. Okay, this is where it breaks down, because you have to understand that, like, when I say witch, in this case, I'm not talking about anything biblically forbidden. I'm talking about access to the power that drives the universe. Okay. I'm not talking about, like, forbidden converse with the spirits of the dead. I'm not talking about, sorcery defined as it's defined in the Bible, which is pharmakeia. Okay. But the fact remains that, like, even though I believe them to be good people, or essentially good people, the reputation of the Aes Sedai that he starts out with is that, light burn me, but you don't want to get involved with them because these people are witches. They have real strange notions about the truth. Oh yeah, an Aes Sedai will tell you the truth, but here you've got this whole Cassandra thing going. Okay, they take oaths not to lie, but they sometimes make some of the god darndest contortions around the way they speak the truth. And okay, I've actually got somebody. Hello. Just a moment. Let me see. Karen.
I'm on the phone.
Okay. So anyway, no, the Aes Sedai have a reputation as witches. Okay, they have a reputation as like being, whatever magic they're practicing, it gives them twisty little minds. Okay, they're not necessarily evil people. I want you to understand that from the opening. But there's also this force called the Children of the Light. Now, the Children of the Light are a very militaristic order of, basically picture it as an order of knighthood. And the problem with the Children of the Light is that they have this nasty tendency to believe that, for example, if you are not, quote unquote, a declared child of the light, then you're automatically a friend of the dark. Okay, you're automatically a shadow dancer. You're automatically somebody serving evil, and the proposition, the way they would put it, is you're serving evil consciously. Okay, so their objection is basically to the very existence of these Aes Sedai witches. All right, and it's a very interesting way of playing with bigotry. Okay, it's a very interesting way of playing with bigotry, because basically that's the way that like actual practicing witches see us as Christians, is descendants of the Crusades, or descendants of the same people who tried in Salem to burn or to stone all the witches. Okay, that's what actual practitioners of Wicca as a system believe about Christians. Just FYI. Okay, that's what they're taught. Um, and the interesting thing is that Robert Jordan is also playing with a lot of themes like, for example, he had a problem with the way Gandalf showed up in the Tolkien quest and said, well, you've got to go save the world. Basically to this tiny little hobbit. That's where it started. Okay, and part of Robert Jordan's objection to that was, where does simple individual self-interest fit into that equation, for one? Okay. And I'm not telling tales out of school. I'm just kind of condensing an actual public interview that he did, that's actually attached to the audiobook version of some of his books. Okay, but anyway. Long rambling sermon again. Where was I going? Okay, I'm talking into the mirror. It doesn't really matter where I was going. The people who have ears to hear will get hold of what I mean when I say this. All right. So anyway, what I was challenging myself with today was I wanted to see if I could get a reaction from a certain particular individual on YouTube who, like, he already shares so many of my biases that I really want to see how far down this goes. And we'll see if he actually responds, and if so, in what manner. But I managed to keep myself very busy today. Made some interesting discoveries about, like, the nature of quantum physics, how quantum physics relates to atheism, this kind of thing. And basically, yeah, I've left all the evidence and all the conclusions, on my channel in real time already, so I won't go over that today. But basically what I am saying is, it's been a very busy, productive day, and I've satisfied the terms of, like, my daily experiment. See, I'm always experimenting to see if I can actually get a response from a real person, not necessarily an automated response from this glorified video game called the internet. Okay. And that's essentially what it is. It's at some levels of its function. It's a glorified video game. Okay. The catch is that it is a video game that once you master it, you can earn very real money. The Empower Network knows this. That's why I trust them. That's why I hope to get them to trust me. Okay. But I'm learning some things about, like, branding yourself by, for example, stating your opening biases. Okay. So if nothing else, you're going to get exposed to my personal philosophy, because it pervades, literally everything I'm trying to do. and I'm actually trying to build a professional basis for going public with my philosophy, my personal philosophy of of religion, of marketing, of the intersection between making money and helping people, all that good stuff. Okay. And I'm not necessarily saying, again, that you need to share my biases. You just need to be able to put up with them. Okay? You just need to be able to put up with them in a civilized fashion. If you're an atheist, you want to join the ministry, go right ahead. Okay? If you're an atheist and you think I'm a stupid person, then of course you're probably going to think I'm a stupid person because of my theism, and you'll be cutting yourself out of the whole opportunity. Okay? See, I happen to believe that, if the atheists, just to give you an example of something I learned just today, all right? I happen to believe politically that if the atheists really wanted to separate themselves into atheist universities, quote unquote, okay, the idea is that this would necessarily create such a political firestorm and furor about how unfair they were being to the rest of us. See, the problem is that doesn't fit in with the notion that, quote-unquote, theism is the mental illness in the universe. See, it does not fit in with the notion that theism is the mental illness in the universe. And the problem I have with people like Richard Dawkins, all right, is he makes this appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher, and he's making the gift of this T-shirt, that the slogan on this T-shirt is "Religion, together we can find the cure." Okay, well, see, here's the problem: is Richard Dawkins, as a non-expert, all right, as a non-psychiatrist, as a non-psychologist. See, that's the thing. I don't know anything about Richard Dawkins' credentials. I know they were developed by or as a part of his opening premises, which was about defending atheism, okay, and defending atheism on the grounds that theism is not science, okay, and Philip E. Johnson pointed out there's a flaw in that argument in the strictly legal sense. All right, there's a flaw in that argument in a strictly legal sense. Is it basically what the flaw has to do with the things that they don't tell you about the way they're spinning the information that they present to the public. And there's a lot of people who are being quietly convinced, even if they open from a Christian position. Okay, this is the state of the war, folks. Even if they open from a Christian position, and let's say they manage to maintain that Christian position all the way through, going through 4 years of a secular college. Okay, see, that's the thing, is one of their primary premises as atheists is it's not necessarily correct to suppose as a logical presupposition that just because we as Christians, quote unquote, want our own schools, that it would necessarily be outrageous if atheists who identified their biases, okay, as far as to say I don't believe in God because basically I got burned by a religionist over here. And what's interesting is, the problem is it's usually perceived as a black and white dyad. Okay, in terms of like the atheists versus the Christian. Okay. The fact is, philosophically, it is not a black and white dyad. There's Islam, there's Hinduism, there's let's just lump Judaism in the same category just to be friendly. Okay, but there's Wicca, there's the American Indian traditions. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of them, which, the Babylon 5 connection with this ministry is that I really admire J. Michael Straczynski for being courageous enough to write a science fiction series that did not ever ignore the problem of religion. Okay? And I consider that to be an expression of good theology. I don't know whether, like, he was personally trained by the Jesuits, like I think Captain Sheridan was, or whatever. But, I really admire him for preaching an intellectually honest version of total individual responsibility. Okay, and what I mean by that is that if you're going to be, quote unquote, objectively honest, if you believe that there is such a thing as any form of objective reality at all, okay, you're going to be objectively honest, then basically you don't get away with quote unquote ignoring the problem of religion by like setting up an opening premise that, well, in the 25th century we will have outgrown our need for all of the current religious systems in the world. Okay, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I call bullshit. All right? I call bullshit on that, okay? And again, preacher is not supposed to swear, right? It's an artifact of the devil, folks. That's one of my opening premises, all right? So I reserve the right to swear at hell. God damn it. Doesn't he do that literally anyway? Okay, that's the whole point of there being a hell, is that God abominates hell, God damns hell. Presumably God damns individual people to hell. That's part of the tragedy. Okay, I'm just having fun with you here. See, that's one of the arguments that is like supposedly an argument for atheism, is that the average atheist believes that just as you like cannot prove the existence of God by an objective means, and therefore you're dealing with the black cat in the dark room who isn't there. Just as that is supposedly a valid argument to them, they don't understand why the value of free will, okay, is like so valuable that it excuses God, quote unquote, for having created evil. Okay, and here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. Posit any technology you like. I don't care whether it's robotics or nanotechnology. Okay? Posit any technology you like and any definitions of good and evil that you like. Okay? For any theoretically, for any theoretically infinite set of laws, see, this is where the whole argument breaks down. Is let's just assume that this could work with any finite number of like 5, 6, 10 commandments, whatever. Okay, let's assume that, for example, the Decalogue, the Judeo-Christian tradition of the Ten Commandments were literally the only absolute moral laws in the entire universe. All right. Now, I happen to believe that moral law and physical law come to the same thing. Okay, moral law, physical law, magical law, philosophical law, mathematical law. There's a point, just according to set theory, where they need to come to the same thing. Okay, because you can postulate all the supersets you want, and you're not necessarily going to come up. First of all, you're not necessarily going to come up with an infinite series, and if you come up with an infinite series, you're not necessarily going to reach cosmic consciousness unless you are defining God as, again, ontological argument. Unless you are defining God as like the maximally necessary being who therefore needs to exist in all possible worlds. Okay. But anyway, where was I going with this? Okay, folks, I've wasted your time for an hour. All right, I've wasted your time for an hour. Some people are going to find this entertaining. If you don't understand it, I encourage you to go look at my music videos. All right, because what I love doing for free is just putting these music videos out there in public, and I need to explain something about the way I do my playlists. I will do all the playlists in the world just as my personal experiments with, trying to figure out what I want to say. So most of them will be public released material. Okay. Now, the problem with that is, of course, that there's a relationship that once I start making money, the people who, basically were on board with the project without knowing it because they produced, say the $6 Million Man video, all right, they're probably going to want some form of payment before they will legally allow me to get paid for using that material. What I'm hoping will happen is that, for example, I can eventually buy the rights to use that material on, not just the private side of my channel, but inside the actual, provable produced products of the company. See, there's really not as much restriction against copyright as most people seem to think. You just have to secure the permission to use the footage for XYZ video inside your own stuff. Okay, and presumably they're, whether it's $1,000, $2,000, $10,000, or $100,000. The fact is, they are going to set a price in the small green pieces of paper based on how much they think you can sell. Okay, but for right now, there's a sense where I'm not trying to sell anything. I could do experiments with building video playlists all day long, and I would just be having fun, not trying to make money. But anyway, no. One of the things that it means to become a citizen of the kingdom in terms of like the kingdom of Veritasia, is that once I know in any way at all that you're attached to the kingdom or interested in being attached to the kingdom or whatever, I'll probably start sending out secret coded messages to you in the way I do my playlists. All right. And like certain people have paid me for this privilege, certain people have not paid me for this privilege. But basically, that doesn't have anything to do with like whether I have the legal claim to grab a particular video to say a particular thing. Okay. And basically I only believe in directing messages toward individuals at this point, because that's the only way I can get any reflection back. Not to say I can't be effective at a mass level, but okay, for the skill set that I have now, no, I can't be effective at a mass level. I can be effective over time, on a mass level at a future date. But anyway, got to wrap this up. All right, it's been fun. Okay, never mind. I'll set up the bullet points report later. Okay, I will go back and study this material and set up the bullet points report later. Probably subdivide it several hundred different ways. So, all right, love you, even if you are internet serfs. Good evening.